Hello developers, today we are going to see about weather apps in Jetpack Compose with our hourly and weekly forecast data. So let's create our new project. I just import my drawbles on my folders here, and for now I'll just remove this default function and I create my own function of composable here and just name it as a function of weather screen with I just add the preview functionality so that we can see a side-by-side implementation here. For now I'm going to use box composable by entering the images on one another on top of each other like that. So I just use modifier at full max size to take the entire screen and just write the image with the paint resource or the drawable dot on background image, right? So for default parameter of content description for image as null, and we need to give it as a content scale. With the default parameters modifier and content scale as fill bounds to take the entire of the image. And we have another image. You can see that house image, right? So for this I'm just going to use an order drawable.house. Same thing, content description as null. And here also something we are going to use like just building inside the same view. Oops. What is settings? Yeah, we can take it as a full max size of that image, and here also we can add the same like full max size. Perfect. Now further we are just going to add that data like city names and all. As you can see here, right, mountain view degree C on the top. Just use mountain view as my text here, and second default parameters modifier with font size at something like 34 sp, so text must be in sp. Just align it properly, and font weight something like semi-bold. I'm just giving font weight dot semi-bold. And font just need to use color, right? So just use color as color dot weight, right? And further I'm just going to give another text field. Before that I just use modifier at full max size. This also take the entire screen, and just give a padding of horizontal we need some 30 dp. So you can see these two images and columns are overlapping each other because we are using box composable. And further I am just using my text element as center. Once we give full max width, it can take the entire width and make it to center alignment, right? And I just duplicate of Ctrl D or Command D. And use the 12 degree C. And font size like 60. Further it is a condition of the weather, right? I'm just going to use mist. We need a font size change, something like 30 or 20 is fine for both. and the higher limit of 12.7 degree and lower limit of 8.9. Fine. And I'm just going to add a padding of top layer, something like 40 dp. Oops, we need this within the column itself. Just cut out and add it within my column. Padding top 40 dp. Fine, it's now looking fine. And next we are just focusing on that bottom sheet tray. Okay, for this I'm just going to use bottom sheet scaffold and just wrap it within this as a sheet content, and need to pass state. For this I'm going to initialize state as, remember, bottom sheet scaffold state. Okay, need to pass this. And modifiers default parameter, I just take it as just a sheet content first. What else? Scaffold state. Just add as a scaffold state and pass as a state. We need to opt for that material 3, so option enter or alt enter. Fine. You can see the bottom sheet is created, and we need a peak height of I just use 380.dp. Now it's the starting height. And further we can design the drag handle of the sheet, something like this, weekly and hourly forecast, like that. So for this I'm going to use a table row to use the two widgets, and has some default parameters. I'm just for now I'm using selected as a 0 and its content. So before that we need to pass the default parameters modifier and the content color. For now I'm just using some dark bluish color of 45278B. Same thing for container color also. I'm just reusing the same. And for the indicator color, I'm just going to use my custom color. For this, I just add something like tab positions. By fetching the position, we can use this color components. Tab row defaults of indicator with the modifier of something modifier. Oops, modifier of tab, indicator offset, current position. We can take it as tab position of index. For now I am giving 0, and color, we are just passing our color like C4278B. What else? The color to be given outside the function. Okay, just copy and paste it on outside. Color equal to color of fine. Now we need to create the tab with the index, right? Selected is equal to true. Interaction source, something like for clickable functionalities. I'm just giving the number of mutable interaction source. And further, I'm just going to use some modifier as my default parameter and on click. What is modifier equal to modifier and click. Just we need to pass a function. After this I am going to use text of we need to use the hourly forecast. Default parameters modifiers dot adding of vertical I just passing 16 dp. Color equal to color dot white. Font weight. Font size for us 15 sp and font weight as something like semi-bold. Cool. I'm going to duplicate for the weekly forecast. So just remove this and add weekly forecast. What happened? We need a separate tab, right? I just remove this text field and create after this new tab. So I just duplicate the tab and replace the text field here. Fine. We need to pass a selected index as the remember of mutable state of 0. As the selected index here, and we need to pass selected index equal to 0, which is the first tab, and here selected index equal to 1 for the second tab. Cool. If we click on first tab, we just change the selected index to 0, and if we click the select tab, second tab, the selected index equal to 1. Fine. Now we need to focus on this bottom widgets, and for this I am just going to create the UI of this thing. So I'll just create a preview thing of composable function hourly forecast item, and just remove this, and this I'm going to add a column with the modifier of height of 150.dp and some clipping like a rounded corner shape of 30 dp. Fine. We can also give some background color of 0x32 of 483190. Fine. And we are just going to something like border of 2 dp width, and we can use a color of some hex code variables. FF for 100%, right? But we are going to use 96, 1F, 1D, 4F, some shape, rounded corner shape of same 30 dp. And within the column we have some few text fields. Before that I am just going to some add padding of 16 within all the sets. Fine. Within the column there is a text field. You can see, right, the 12 AM. And further we can use the default parameters modifier, the font weight of something. I'm going to use semi-bold here, and further I'm going to add a what else? Oops. some mismatch in brackets. Just remove this and add here. Fine. Now preview is working. We can add some color as white. And size, font size as font size equal to 15.sp. And this duplicate for the down text piece. 9.7 degrees C. So I'll just add just 9.7 degrees C. Fine. Here I am going to use image in between this. Before that, some padding bottom of 10 dp for looking better. Here I am going to use a painter resource r.drawable day night train, and we need to pass the second parameter as content description as well, and modifier to give the size of this image. For now I'm using 30 dp of the size. We need to import the size as option enter or alt enter, and the image is imported. Right, some padding of bottom of 10 dp is fine here. Oops, the image is shrink. I just add something like increase the image size to 40. Hope it looks better. Fine. Further, we are going to use similar items of that daily forecast item. Right. Before that, I am going to use within my home screen. For this, I'm just going to use lazy row. I'm just passing this item as items of 10, so that it duplicates into 10 items. Hourly forecast item. Just preview here to the main weather screen. Yeah, we can add a spacing of padding and individual spacing also. So for this, I'm just going to add modifier dot padding of 16 dp in all sides, and further I just add a vertical alignment center vertically, alignment dot center vertically, and horizontal arrangement dot spaced by something like 12 dp. Hope it looks better. And further we need to use something like box. We need some background color, right? For this I'm going to use a box and wrap the box within the lazy row column. The box color something like gradient. So for this I'm going to use modifier dot fill max size to take the entire space of the box and give the color, that is gradient color. For this I'm going to use where gradient equal to brush dot linear gradient, and to import the brush dot linear gradient list of color of 0xff2 E335A, and find next another color of FF45278B. Fine. We are going to use this gradient here on my background. For this I'm just adding padding dot modify dot background dot gradient. Hope it looks better. And finally we are going to duplicate into similar items of daily forecast, right? For this I'm going to add preview and just duplicate this, change the name as weekly forecast item. what else is there? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like that. So I'm just going to add as a Sunday here, which represent the day, and similar to this I am going to create another lazy row for this items, weekly forecast items. Now we can add animated visibility for each items to give that smooth scrolling view when switching the tabs. For this I am going using animated visibility, visible equal to selected index equal to 0. So which is first index, I can see this lazy row. And similar thing, animated visibility, just wrap it within the lazy row, and selected index equal to 1, visible equal to selected index equal to 1. Fine. After this we need to something add enter and exiting animation thing. So for this I am going to add enter equal to slide horizontally, like slide in horizontally, some open close parameters of initial offset 300. Okay, so animation spec, I just going to use win to pass the milliseconds, win of duration, like 400 milliseconds for fine, and linearization. And similarly our exit functionality, slide out horizontally, slide out small letters, fine, some open close parameters, initial, oops, I'm just going to add some animation spec, initial, it's not coming, fine, I'm just adding animation spec of between 50 and linearization. What is missing? Easing equal to linearization, fine. And you can see the target offset. So target offset is minus 400, 300 is fine. Okay, 400 you can take this, 300 is fine. And similarly just add this animation here also, but you can wonder that both items are overlapping each other. For this I am going to add a row. Okay, we are seeing that overlapping items are here. For this I'm just going to add now I'm just going to add it on set content blur, just add weather screen and run my project. You can see the output of this. Yeah, now we can just lift and toggle items, but here you can miss that the tab is not shifting, right? For this I'm going to add that handle container like that. So just add handle tab default, tab row default position. You can't give us 0, it's a return mix. Now it will work fine. And further we are going to focus on these widgets. So for this I am just going to close this and add a UI part of composable. So just take this preview, add a composable at composable function temperature widget. In temperature widget we have this image title and all. So for this I am going to use column which contains like modifier of size 164.dp. So it takes a square size, so it takes height and width of 164 dp, and click of rounded corner shape to give us a curved corner region of 22 dp. Fine. And just going to add a background color of, so here you can check this gradient color. So I'm just going to add a gradient, val gradient equal to brush dot linear gradient. I'm just going to use color list of color of first color something like 0xFF 2E33 and 5A. Fine. The second color is 0xFF 1C 1B33. Fine. Just using this gradient on my background. And further we can add the title. For this I am going to use a row which contains image and the text. First thing is image and next is text. So for this image I'm just going to use a painter resource, painter equal to painter resource or dot drawable dot temperature and modify, just give some size of 20 dp. Fine. Here you can check the text feels like. And also we need some give like color and background right. For this I'm going to use modifier as a default second parameter, color equal to background something like color of 0xFF and 6B7 6B6B 78. Fine. This is a grayish color put here. Font weight something I'm just going to as symbol. Looks perfect. We need to add some space between this. For this I'm going to add modifier first parameter something padding of top and start right. So top flag is given 20 dp. No, can give this as horizontal arrangement spaced by something 5 dp. Looks fine. And start of 16 dp. Now looks better. And further we are just going to add 2 more text fields like 11 degree C, 11 degree C. Modifier as the second parameters and font weight of semi-bold and font size 34.sp. Fine. And just rearranging something color dot white, which is optimal for it. Here also we need to add some padding, so I just take that padding to its parent. Okay, I'm just cut it out. and add to its parent. No, after giving the background we can add this. It looks better. And further I'm just cut and duplicate this same and so give the title similar to the actual temperature. Fine. We can just change the font size to something like 16. We can also add some top plus space and endless space here. Endings there. So we can just reduce the space, something like 8. Now better optimal. But we can also add some topless spacing. And so I just add bottom 4D. I'm just going to duplicate this widget. For humidity and visibility, we are going to use this widget. And for humidity, I'm just going to change this as humidity and text something like humidity. What else? 82%. Well, this text must be a 82%. And here the viewpoint is 8 right now. Fine. So similarly we can reuse this content for visibility widget. So for this I'm just going to duplicate this widget. Change the name as visibility. Visibility. And it contains 16 kilometers similar to the actual temperature. Wait. Visibility icon, visibility text, similar to the actual temperature, right? What else? 16 kilometers. Now looks better. And few more 3 widgets is there. For this I'm just going to add a composable of UV composable function UV screen. I'm just going to reuse all this content. Just copy and paste here. Like UV, the sun is here. UV index, right? 0, low, something like a low. And also we have this progress bar light. For this I'm just going to use a box. Just a box with a modifier or height of 5 dp and just fill max width. And here you can see the gradient color, right? For this I'm just going to use progress bar gradient dash dot linear gradient list of color of zero x f of 88.2b32. Fine. And one more class there, E2. Looks good. And similarly 0xs of ff69b4. Fine. I'm just using this background, not background of gradient, progress bar gradient. And here I'm just going to add a rounded corner shape of 20 dp using this curved edges, and also I'm just adding the padding of bottom 10 dp or 10 dp. And further we are going to use composable function of sunrise screen. Similarly, I am reusing the content here. Just copy this. Sunrise. So I'm just using this widget. And we have one image on 5:33 AM. 5:53 AM. Further there is one image there. So just change this font size. You can see the sun. Image, painter resource, r dot sun content description equal to none, and modifier size of 40 dp. Looks better, but we need to adjust to center align. For this I'm just going to use full max width before giving the size. Now it's look better. Further I am adding top dp of 5. We don't need this progress bar here. We need to use this sunset time, right? And just copy this text field and reuse it here, like sunset 8:19 PM. Okay. Looks better. We need just padding here, padding top of something like 10 dp is fine. That works. And here comes our final widget, composable function of like windscreen. just copy and reusing the content. Same here. What else? Like humidity. Further, wind, and we need a circular box, right? So just removing the unwanted text fields here and add our box. But in that we are going to use that circular box bar. For this, I'm just going to add an image with the circular progress bar tag print with the painter resource r dot drawable dot circular outline and giving the content description as null. And further I am going to use a modifier to give the size of the image and also padding. Padding is mistake. Just 10 and the size of 110. Fine. So we have some content inside the circles. For this I'm just going to use a column of text field which contains that 6.8, right? Modify as a second default parameter. Font weight dot semi-bold. Font size 15.dp. 18 sp is fine. Color dot white. Here I am going to use km per bar. Now 12 is fine. But you can see we need to add something to center, right? For this I am just adding with modifier as the first parameters and content alignment dot center. Looks better. Hope this widget also works fine. And further we are going to integrate all this widget in the bottom view. Okay. For this I'm just going to create another composable function, like composable function bottom screen with all these items are going to render here. I'm using lazy vertical grid. Fine. Here I am going to add every item of first is UV sunrise, UV screen, temperature widget, humidity, and what else? Items of that visibility screen. Okay. Further we are going to add a modifier is here, but we need to pass columns, right? Full access. Taskbar column, so passing columns equal to grid cells not fixed of 2. It is 2 columns only. Now it looks better. We need to add a padding in all sides. I just give 16 dp and something like vertical and horizontal arrangement. We need to specify arrangement dot spaced by 12. Okay, 16 is right here. Horizontal dot spaced by. Fine. It look better. Now I'm just using this within my main screen, which is weather screen. No, weather screen. after these lazy columns on the right. Below I'm just using this bottom screen. No, we need to add a column here to avoid the overlap. Column. No, it won't work here. Just adding within the box. Column of swap the column to row and the box bottom screen. Now it looks good and works better. Fine. Finally we are running our project. Set content is set that, and we can hope the UI looks good, and we can also have this functionality of switching the items. Now in next tutorial we can go into adding real-time location view and in real-time data screens of all these widgets.